Hello dear students, today in this video we are going to be talking about the paper pattern of corporate and other laws, which is paper number 2 of CA inter-syllabus. We are going to be discussing the ABC analysis, which are the important chapters, which are not so important chapters. What is the weightage which is given to different chapters by ICAI? What is the weightage of different chapters according to past exam papers? And along with that, we are going to be analyzing the December 21 paper. From the quick analysis, we are going to highlight certain very important points that will be useful for you to write the paper. So make sure you watch this video till the end. You are going to really benefit from it. It will really help you in your examination. Let's start off. Firstly, in total, the 100-mark paper is divided into two parts: company law and other laws. So when we say company law, you are covering section number 1 onwards till section number 148. That is basically chapter number 1 onwards till chapter number 10 of the Companies Act. That is covered in your syllabus. When we talk about other laws, then there are 3 chapters of the Indian Contract Act, then 1 Negotiable Instrument Act. After that, you have the General Clause Act and Interpretation of Statutes. In the Indian Contract Act, you have agency, you have bailment and pledge, and you have guarantee and indemnity. Okay, all of that in total is going to cover 40 marks. Now, in the examination, the total 100-mark paper is going to come in two parts. First, it is a 30-mark MCQ portion. Basically, you will have 4 options and you will have to select the correct answer. In that, roughly, company law is going to come for 18 marks and other laws is going to come for 12 marks. Now, when we talk about the theory portion, it is going to come for 70 marks. Out of that, the first question is going to be compulsory. The first question, which is compulsory, is going to be of 19 marks. Then after that, there are going to be 4 other optional questions. Okay, now you have to do basically 3 out of these 4 questions. That is question 2, 3, 4, 5. You will have to do any 3 out of them, right? Each of these questions is going to be of 17 marks. Now here the compulsory question as well as the optional question, they are going to have a lot of internal parts to it, right? So there is going to be A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and each of them is going to be 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks, etc. Now that you have understood the overall paper pattern, then let's now discuss the weightage that has been given by ICAI to different chapters. Okay, so according to ICAI, the first, second, third chapters have been categorized as one category, and together their weightage has been allotted as 10 to 17 marks. Then after that, chapter 5, 6, and 7, they have been categorized into another category, and its weightage is given as 10 marks to 15 marks roughly. Next on, chapter 8, 9, and 10 have been categorized together, and their weightage is 14 marks to 17 marks. Now let's talk about other laws. In other laws, the total weightage is 40 marks. In that, the Indian Contract Act in total has a weightage of 8 marks to 10 marks in total. The Negotiable Instrument Act has a weightage of 5 to 10 marks. Then after that, the General Clause Act has a weightage of 4 mark to 7 mark. And then Interpretation of Statute has a rough weightage of 4 to 7 marks. So this is the broad weightage which has been given by ICAI to different chapters. So as we can see here, individual chapters have not been given weightage. ICAI has created categories, and overall the categories have been given certain weightages. Okay, so sometimes what happens is that 3 chapters come in the examination and 1 is left out, and overall the weightage still remains the same. So now that we have discussed what is the weightage given by ICAI to different categories of chapters, let's also look at past exam papers, and let's see for how many marks did all of these chapters come for in the last 6 attempts. So here we are analyzing the last 6 attempts papers, that is from May 19 onwards till December 21. Okay, let's talk about the first category of chapters. So when we talk about chapter 1 preliminary, it contains a lot of definitions. It has been coming irregularly, not always, and the average weightage for which it has been coming is 3 marks. Okay, in the last 2 attempts it came. Next is chapter 2, which is incorporation. It contains details relating to registration of the company. Now this chapter always comes in the examination. As we can see, it has been coming for the past 6 attempts. The average weightage is 8 marks. Next is chapter 3, prospectus and allotment of securities. It almost comes every single time, and the average weightage is 6 marks. Next is share capital and debentures. It again comes every single time. The average weightage is 4 to 5 marks. Next up, let's talk about chapter 5, 6, and 7. Now these chapters have been coming every single time. Registration of charges has not been coming for the past 2 attempts, but apart from that, these 3 chapters have been coming in every single attempt. The average weightage is 5 marks, 3 marks, and 8 marks. Let's talk about the next 3 chapters, that is chapter 8, 9, 10, relating to dividend accounts of the company and audit. Again, these chapters have also been coming in every single attempt in the last 6 attempts. The average weightage is 4 marks, 7 marks, and 6.5 marks. Let's move on to other laws now. In other laws, the Indian Contract Act has a weightage of a total of 11 marks. Now in this there are three different units. The first one is indemnity and guarantee. It has been coming for the last 6 attempts. The average weightage is 6 marks. Sometimes it comes for 4 marks, sometimes it comes for 8 marks. Then we talk about bailment and pledge. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it does not come. Okay, so every 2-3 attempts the questions are coming. The average weightage is 2 to 3 marks. Then we talk about agency. This is the chapter that comes almost every single time. The average weightage is 2 to 3 marks. Next, let's talk about Negotiable Instrument Act. It always comes and the average weightage is 9 to 10 marks. When we talk about General Clause Act, again this chapter also always comes in the examination for a weightage of 6 to 7 marks. Interpretation of statute, again it comes every single time. The average weightage is 6 to 7 marks. So here the analysis that we are doing the analysis of the 70-mark theory paper. Okay, the MCQ paper is not available for us to analyze, so here we are simply analyzing the 70-mark theory paper. Now we have understood the weightage of different chapters for the examination. Now let's dive deeper into every single paper of the last 6 attempts and see that in which question which all chapters are asked. This is basically going to help you in making a strategy for the examination, which questions you want to attempt first. If you have certain chapters that you really like that are strong, then you can attempt those questions first. But for that, you need to know which questions come for which chapters, right? So that is exactly what we are going to be discussing right now. We are discussing here the 70-mark portion, which is theory. Right, it has 5 questions. The first one is compulsory. The next 4 questions, they are optional, right? You have to do any 3 of them. These 5 questions, the first question is compulsory. In the first question, generally you have 4 to 5 parts to it. Okay, sometimes in one part also there are certain multiple internal sub parts. Okay, now in the first question, as you can see on your screen, negotiable instrument comes for generally 3 marks every single time, and the contract that comes generally for 4 marks every single time. Sometimes it's guarantee, sometimes it's pledge, sometimes it's agency. Apart from that, the remaining 12 marks are from your company law. Next, let's talk about the second question, which is one of the optional questions. Now in that also again you have 4 internal parts. Sometimes in one of the parts also there are 2 sub parts to it. Okay, now in this the contract act is always coming for 4 marks. Again, sometimes it's agency, sometimes bailment and pledge, sometimes guarantee. And negotiable instrument act is also coming in your question number 2 for 3 marks. Apart from that, the rest of the 10 marks is dedicated to your company's act. Generally, it is management and administration or deposits or accounts of the company or audit. These are the chapters that are generally asked in this second question. Next, let's talk about the third question. Okay, again, it has 4 internal parts. Each of them may also have some internal subparts to it also. Here, the negotiable instrument act is coming for 4 marks, and then the interpretation of statute is always coming for 3 marks. Apart from that, the rest of the 10 marks are for the company's act, right? Next, let's talk about question number 4. In question number 4, again, internal 4 parts are there, and then sometimes these parts also have some subparts, right? Now here, interpretation of statute is always coming for 4 marks. General clause act is here coming for 4 marks. Again, it may sometimes be coming for 2 marks question, but in total, general clause act is one of the parts of question 4 coming for 4 marks. And then apart from that, 10 marks is for the company's act, as you can see. So here generally the question comes from the chapter deposits. Okay, now this deposit relating question may also be part of your 5th question. Next up, we have question number 5. Again, it has internal 4 parts, but here there is an internal choice also. So sometimes there is an internal choice in A part of question number 5 or in B part of question number 5. That is basically you have to choose internally also one of these 2 parts that are given. So now in question number 5 also, the contract act comes for 4 marks. It may be guarantee, bailment, agency, anything of that may come. Apart from that, general clause act is coming for 3 marks here in question number 5. Right, and then the rest of the 10 marks are for the company's act, and there is internal choice. So this file that I'm using, I'm going to link it in the description box below for you to download, and then based on that you can do your own analysis also. So from the discussion that we have done so far, what do we understand? Do we have an ABC category in these chapters? Well, firstly, we understand that mostly all of these chapters are coming in every single attempt. Rarely there is 1 or 2 attempts in which 1 or 2 chapters are not coming. Right. Apart from that, what we have understood is that in every single question, 7 mark to 8 mark portion is for the other laws. right? So other laws is very, very important. Call it General Clause Act, Interpretation of Statute, Negotiable Instrument Act, or the Contract Act. They're very, very important, and they're pretty easy also. So easily you can bag 40 marks by doing other laws. Another important thing is that some of these questions are direct questions, and some of these questions, in fact majority of these questions, are actually case study based questions. Now we are going to be diving a little bit deeper in your December 21 paper, because there are some very, very important points to highlight here that are going to prepare you mentally for the examination that you'll be sitting in. All right, so we have the December 21 paper here, and along with that I have some points that I want to highlight. First of all, let's talk about amendments. See, in your company law paper there are some amendments that come for every single attempt. Now in December 21 examination also, there were many amendments that were applicable. Out of them, some of the amendments were actually asked for 5 marks. So in your 70-mark theory paper, 5 mark total weightage was actually for the amendments, out of which 2 mark was from the small companies, that is your chapter number 1, and then 3 marks was from your OPC, which is chapter number 2. Apart from that, also there were certain other amendments that were not actually covered in this examination. There were some really important amendments relating to chapter number 9, relating to section number 135 CSR, that were not actually covered in this examination. But because those amendments were not covered in December 21 examination, does that mean that they are not going to be covered in your coming exam, which is your May 2022 examination? The answer is no. It's highly likely that this amendment actually falls in your May 22 examination. Along with that, also in your May 22 examination, there are some more amendments that are applicable. For example, there's an amendment in section number 16, which is in chapter number 2. Okay, so there are some more amendments also which you will have to study. All of these amendments, they do have weightage in your examination. So if you simply look at these amendments, they are going to be ranging from 5 mark to 6 mark in your examination. So make sure that you definitely do these amendments, right? Next important point I want to highlight is that please read the question very, very carefully to understand the requirement of the question. Okay, sometimes we are in rush and we are in the stress of completing the paper in the examination, so we don't exactly read the question very, very properly to understand what is the question actually demanding. Okay, sometimes the language of the question is framed in such a way that we may think that this is asked, but actually something else might be asked, something very simple might be asked. So you have to be very careful when you're reading the question. Okay, so for example, let's just take one of the questions from December 21 paper. For example, you can see this one question in your December 21 paper. Okay, now this is a question that is coming for 3 marks. If you read this question carefully, this question is asking about the financial statement of the subsidiary companies. Okay, but if you are in rush, you might think that in this particular question, the financial statement of the holding company, the details relating to that is being asked. You may confuse it with the consolidated financial statement. Okay, so you can pause the video and you can read this question and you can try to find the answer of it. This question is not relating to the financial statement of the holding company, it is actually relating to the financial statement of the subsidiary company. But you have to be relaxed, you have to read the question carefully to understand the requirement of the question. The next important point I want to highlight is that sometimes in your examination, the questions that come, they require you to have some common sense. It's not always you having a lot of knowledge that is going to give you the right answer. Sometimes the questions are framed in such a way that they are testing whether your stress levels are at par or not, whether you're able to use your common sense and come with a normal answer or not. Sometimes those questions, they don't check your knowledge, but they are framed in such a way that you have to use common sense to answer them. Okay, let's try to take an example for that as well. Now here on the screen you can see question number 2. In question number 2, part 1 of the A part, that is our relevant part that we are discussing. In this, basically, the word demat account has been used. Now, this may confuse the students, but here basically we are talking about joint holders of the shares. While reading the question, you might think that this question is out of the course, but actually it's not out of the course. It just requires you to have a little bit of common sense. Let's take one more question. So here we are taking question 2C part from December 21 paper. Now, this question is from agency. Okay, now the second part of this question is a little tricky. Here you have been asked that what is the liability of the principal in case the goods are prohibited goods. Okay, now there is no specific provision as such in the Contract Act that we have discussed relating to prohibited goods. Okay, but here you have to be a little relaxed. You have to see what is the essence of the question. Here we are talking about an illegal activity. Okay, so if the principal enters into an illegal activity, what are the repercussions? The next important point is that sometimes in your paper there are some errors also. Okay, so when there are errors in the question, what do you exactly do? Sometimes you may catch the errors, sometimes you may not catch the errors. What happens is that generally, if you catch these errors in the examination in some question, then you get confused. You sometimes want to just point out in the question that there is an error. But see, in our examination, our aim is to score the maximum marks possible. When you see some errors in the question paper, what do? Do you highlight these errors in your answers? The answer is no. See, in the examination, sometimes students get stressed out when there are errors and they don't know exactly how to handle it. And sometimes very, very important details in the question, they also have errors. So what do you exactly do? Okay, so in that case, what you can do is, see, of course, you will have to answer the question, and you will have to answer the question in such a way that you score the maximum marks. Okay, so if required, you can state some assumptions. Okay, let's say a very important detail in the question is missing, or it is stated in such a way that it is causing some problem. Okay, in that case, you state your own assumption, and based on your assumption, you write the answer. If there are two possible answers, then write those two possible answers in both the assumptions. Right, basically you have to display that this error has not affected you mentally, and you know the answer, and this is the answer, and if the circumstance is like this, then this is the answer. So you have to basically flaunt your knowledge. Okay, let's take some examples from the December 21 paper for understanding. For example, let's talk about the first question. The first question is with respect to one person company. Okay, now in this question, as you're going to read the question, you will realize that the name of the one person company is Ekta Readymade's Garments Limited. Now, if you know, one person company's name does not end with limited, it ends with OPC Private Limited. However, here the name is ending with limited. So here the name of one person company is not written correctly. Okay, but it is not affecting the question as such. It's just a small error. So you have to simply ignore it. You have to see the essence of the question, and you have to basically answer the question. Let's take one more example. So here we are taking question number 5B part of your December 21 paper. Now in that, the third part of this question, it has a small little error. See here, the question that has been asked is, how much amount can be accepted as deposits from public under section 73 of the Companies Act? Okay, now if you're very clear with the chapter relating to deposits, which is chapter number 5, then you will know that section number 76 deals with deposits from the public, and section number 73 deals with deposits from the members. However, here the question is, how much amount can be accepted as deposits from the public under section 73? Both of these are controversial. They're talking about different things. Section 73 talks about deposits from the members, whereas public deposits, they are covered in section number 76. So here you may get confused as to whether you have to answer in terms of deposits from the public or deposits from the members. In that case, what can you do? Well, see, answer in both the things. Okay, answer how much deposits can be accepted from the members and how much deposits can be accepted from the public. So answer by stating both of these points so that you have no chance of losing any marks. Now the next important thing I want to highlight is that most of the questions, they came directly from the study material and from past exams. Okay, so some of the questions, even without changing any basic details, just by changing the names and just by changing the figures, they came from study material. And some of the questions, they were directly from the past exams. So what do you learn from it? Well, you learn that you have to make sure that you do the study material questions properly. Okay, and along with that, at least do 4 past exam papers. Okay, along with that, if you can do RTPs, that is revision test papers, then please make sure you do them also. If you're able to solve mocks, then please solve them also. If you're lucky, the questions are going to come directly as it is from these revision test papers, past exam papers, and also the study material. Now when I say study material, it includes the examples that are stated inside the study material, as well as the questions that are stated at the back of the chapter. Both of these are equally important for your examination. Another crucial thing that I noticed was that this time the number of questions were more. Instead of asking one question for a higher weightage, small questions were asked for small weightages from different parts of the chapter or from different chapters. So basically you had to answer more questions, and for that you needed more speed to complete the paper. It also means that small little points from the chapter, they are important. So that basically means that you have to be very thorough when you're studying corporate and other laws. You have to be careful of every single section, every single small point also. In a particular section, you might have small little things here and there that you might think they're not important, but they are actually important. They can be weighing you 2 marks or 3 marks in the examination. Question can definitely come from any part of the chapter. Next important thing is actually your ABC category of chapters. As we have discussed, every single chapter comes in the examination broadly every single attempt. But if we still have to categorize some chapters as 8 category chapters, these are the chapters that definitely come in the examination every single time. So now all the chapters from other laws, that is your Contract Act, Negotiable Instrument Act, General Clause Act, and Interpretation of Statute, they always come in the examination. So please make sure that you definitely do other laws properly and thoroughly. In fact, many of the times the questions are coming directly from the study material from other laws, and sometimes these questions are direct questions. So don't underestimate the power of other laws. Most students, they want to do company law first, but try to focus on other laws. It is really going to be beneficial. Now when we talk about company law, chapter 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, they are the chapters that definitely come every single attempt. Apart from that, all the other chapters, they also most likely come in every single attempt. So we'll put all the other chapters in B category, but for A category, definitely try to focus more on chapter 2, 5, 7, 9, and 10. Now this does not mean that you don't pay attention to all the other chapters. Please, according to me, try to do 100% syllabus, because any chapter can come in your examination. So that's it in this video. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any more questions relating to corporate and other laws, then do let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to answer your questions, and I'll see you again in another video. All the very best for your examination. Bye bye.